All right, joining us, Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland. Senator, really good to have you. I first want to ask you about the war in Iran, this $200 billion supplemental that could come to Congress. Where do you stand on it? Would you vote yes or no?
So, Katie, good to be with you. I would vote no. This war in Iran, it's an illegal war of choice. It's making Americans less safe, not more safe, creating huge instability in the region. It's cost us in lives. It's also costing us every day in treasure, taxpayer dollars, and rising gas and oil prices. So my view is the best thing we can do for America and for our troops is not to provide any more funding for this illegal war.
All right, let me talk to you about your tax policy. You've just sent out a proposal, and you want to reduce the amount of tax, income tax, federal income tax, that's paid by individuals making under $46,000 or married couples making under $92,000 to zero. You don't think they should pay anything. Why is that?
Well, as we were just talking, people are facing these rising prices and costs. We have an affordability crisis in our country, higher electricity rates, higher mortgage rates, higher rental rates. And there are two sides to the equation. One is to try to contain the costs. The other is to make sure that Americans who are just making a living wage, meaning just earning enough income to pay their basic living expenses, should not have that living wage taxed away under federal taxes. And we pay for it by having a surcharge on people making over $1 million a year. So on that first dollar over $1 million, somebody would pay an additional 5%. So unlike the Trump tax plans for the rich, this doesn't explode the debt and deficit at the same time.
Why this instead of the Sanders proposal, which is a wealth tax on the nation's billionaires? There are about 1,000 of them. Sanders argues it would raise $4.4 trillion on just those billionaires alone.
Well, Katie, I do support the Sanders wealth tax, and Senator Sanders supports my bill, the Working Americans Tax Cut bill, because we think that we need to make sure we provide relief to working people, but also generate enough revenue to meet people's basic needs. Part of that is letting hardworking people living paycheck to paycheck keep more of what they earn. But the other part is extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits, for example, which Republicans refuse to do. So I don't intend for my bill to be like the only Democratic tax plan out there. In fact, I've co-sponsored proposals to increase the child tax credit. I co-sponsoring the Sanders bill, and he's supporting my bill. And by the way, you know, the AFL-CIO, which of course stands up for working people every day, is strongly supporting this proposal I put forward, along with a lot of other progressive groups from Move On to Indivisible to Americans for Tax Reform. So it's not either or.
So if these were to work in tandem, I understand how it's going to work for people making under the amounts that we just listed a moment ago, 46 and I believe 92. What is the money that, say, if the Sanders proposal goes through, where does that money go? What do you pay for with that money?
Under the Sanders proposal?
Well, under both of your, what is your ideal circumstance? If you're giving people a break on their taxes and you're also going to raise money, where should that money go?
So, for example, under the proposal I put forward, the revenues from applying that surtax to the very rich go to making sure that, you know, people who are living paycheck to paycheck get a tax cut. It's about 135 million Americans that will pay a little less, or if you're under 46,000, none at all. Under the Sanders proposal, he uses some of the additional revenue to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. He also would expand Medicare to include services for dental services, for hearing, and for eyes. So, and that's something I also support. So this is not an either or. I believe, Katie, we need the political will to make sure that we address the financial and economic squeeze so many Americans are facing from so many different angles.
It sounds to me like Democrats are moving toward a message for both 26 and 2028, which is that wealth inequality is a problem, and they are going to find a way to make it better, to solve that for so many people in this country. I've heard Democrats all across this country come out and say some version of there's a problem here. The ultra wealthy are controlling everything and they're not paying their fair share. Would you argue that is the message, the winning message for Democrats going forward?
Yes, yes, and yes. I agree. We have a huge problem with wealth and income inequality in America, and we need to address it. And we need to address it in a way that ensures that working people can have a better quality of life, that they're able to make ends meet. I mean, the proposal I put forward, these are people who are working every single day, 8 hours a day, sometimes more. And they're the people that Donald Trump said he wanted to help, for example, when he did his no tax on tips or no tax on overtime. The difference is the Trump proposal overwhelmingly helped the very wealthy, and those tax cuts, no tax on tips, they expire in a couple years. The proposal I put forward makes sure that those people do even better and permanently. And by the way, if you're making the same amount of money as somebody else who's making their money on tips, you also shouldn't have to pay an added federal tax burden. And so we make sure that all the people in that category working paycheck to paycheck get a little relief.
Senator, what about the deficit?
Well, the proposal I put forward addresses the deficit. It's fully paid for, right? Unlike the Trump
But what
tax
about addressing
plan
the deficit, actually eating into the deficit?
Well, I've put forward proposals to do that as well. For example, we should have more drugs negotiated for under the prescription drug bill under Medicare. We should expand that further. There are other things we need to do to address the deficit. But the priority in this bill and in Senator Sanders' bill is to make sure that, people who are struggling paycheck to paycheck get a little relief, and that the people at the very top pay a little more. After all, right now in America, you have extremely wealthy people, billionaires, passing on their fortunes to their heirs tax-free because of the step up in basis. And we're creating an American aristocracy that is actually going to eat away at our democracy. And so this is a vitally important issue.
It is a message we're hearing more and more from a lot of Democrats, including yourself. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us today, Senator. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Katie.